Yeah, help drips. Hope you heard her. The show dedicated to the frontline workers and physicians feeling pressured, feeling overwhelmed. We want to share the tools that will help your mental health. Help drips, everyone. You are not alone. Surely you can overcome. Yeah, the world might be nonstop. Every day you put in work, but this is a show all about putting you first. Help drips. Let's go.
All right. Thank you so much, physicians, for tuning in to our next edition of Health Trips, where we are providing resources to physicians as yourself who are busy, who might need just some more information and tools to help you manage your self-care and manage your burnout. Today, I have the wonderful pleasure and opportunity to be speaking with Dr. Darlene Mayo. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about her, but I know that I'm not going to do it justice. She is wonderful and amazing, and you'll get a chance to hear from her in just a second. Dr. Darlene Mayo is a board-certified neurosurgeon who retired from clinical practice for the past few years. She is the founder of her global community, which is Healing the Kingdom, where she equips people with knowledge to find healing by giving strategies based in brain science and faith. So welcome, Dr. Mayo. How are you doing on today?
Thank you. It is a wonderful, beautiful day today. Thank you so much for having me. It is just my sheer delight to be here with you and with your audience and share all the goodness, all these strategies in brain science to help folks to really break free to a new level of passion and purpose. That's truly what I desire for folks.
Well, you know what I really love is that in reading your bio, and we were going back and forth, and you talked about how you were very passionate and you incorporate faith and brain science. And so I just love that. And I want to just dig a little bit deeper in what does that really mean when you're talking about brain strategies and faith, and how physicians and listeners who are tuned in on today, how they can break through to that burnout that they might be on the verge of.
Yeah. So here's the thing, and I have to give you a little bit of my background to explain this. Okay. Yes. So I grew up thinking I was two totally different people. Right. So okay. I loved God. I, was raised in faith and in the church and my relationship with the Lord. And then I also grew up having this passion to heal. Right. And so I took that and went to medical school, became a neurosurgeon, did all of those things. Right. And went the very traditional medical route. But in that arena, I still prayed over my patients, even prayed over their surgeries, these sorts of things, right? But a lot of my colleagues didn't get it. Some of them did, but a lot of them didn't get it. And then on the other side, I would go to church, Sundays, Wednesdays, whenever. And then I would try to talk about science and the amazingness, because, I believe God created everything, right?
Yes.
And so all the scientific discoveries we have, even these surgeries that we do, they came from him, right?
That's right.
And healing ultimately comes from him. But they wouldn't want to hear about the science. They say, why do we need science when we have God? And here's what I found. So I was this kind of split person. I could not fully be who I was created to be until I actually wound up leaving practice. Okay. It doesn't have to be that way. So listen to me, if you're still in practice, it does not have to be that way. But it took, I think, by nature of the fact of being a neurosurgeon, and I was working 80, 100 hours a week, and just had no time for anything other than this is what I believed. This was actually false. This is one of the things I help people break free from. But I believed I had no time for anything else other than my practice of medicine and the research that I was doing. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was a tough place to be. But when I finally, God actually invited me. I like to call it an invitation. Here's your invitation to leave neurosurgery, which, let me tell you, terrified me to start.
Yes.
After, you guys know, after high school, I spent 17 years going to college and medical school and residency and fellowship training. I believed that who I was, the all encompassing of who I was was a neurosurgeon.
Yes.
I was told by other colleagues, Darlene,
Mhm.
there's nothing else you can do. What are you thinking? Why would you even want to do anything else? But somewhere deep inside me, I knew I was created for more than what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
And now I understand, right? Because as I stepped out, not
Mhm.
even knowing what I was doing, which is so unusual. I
Yeah.
was the person with the 5-year, 10-year plan, right? And
Yeah.
here I was.
Great planner.
My instructions were from God were, you can write books, Darlene, write books. And I had just adopted my 2 beautiful children and be a mom. Those were my instructions. And I said, what? I said, I
Yeah.
can't make any money doing that. How do I do
Yeah.
this? And what about all of these years of training in neurosurgery? And I
Yeah.
felt God saying, just trust me. Just trust me. Okay.
Mhm.
We've got something
Mhm.
really good. And what I found was it was a very kind of circuitous route, I'll say. And it's interesting as you look at even the books I wrote, I've written
Mhm.
4 books now,
Yeah.
and each one is a step closer to really my true identity. It's like an
I love it.
identity journey
I
as I
love it.
look back through it, right?
Yeah.
And now I see that there are keys in science that really unlock truths in our
Mhm.
faith, right? And
Mhm.
even scriptures like the Bible, right? That help us to step into healing at a greater level.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, faith, obviously, faith in God, yes, it is complete in and of itself. And science, you could say, is complete. But the merging of the two, it just unlocks truths that accelerate people into healing faster and more powerfully than I have absolutely ever seen. So,
So tell me, how would one incorporate their faith and like breaking through to burnout? Because, like you said, there are so many physicians that I've consulted with and worked with where they're exactly like what you described. Don't have time for anything but the thing. You're on
right.
call,
Yep.
or you're pulled to the schedule that's set for you within the hospital setting I'm talking about, within this healthcare system. So I can see that it would be very becoming to lose yourself in
Yes.
the thing, in the system. So how would one then incorporate their faith in terms of, okay, I know that I'm called to do more. Maybe it's not that I need to leave, like you said, but I'm called to do more. I just don't know how to do it and how to get the support to be able to do that, because burnout is such a, among physicians, it's such a secret topic, and it's
Right.
not. And so that is what we're here to do, is to shed light on that. So I love your light and what you're bringing. How would one incorporate those things that you just talked about?
Yeah, so let me start by this. So I'll always go back to the scriptures because that's where I start.
Yeah.
But this has a really important neuroscience basis to it. So I encourage you folks to just hang on with me for a second, even if no matter what your faith is. Okay, there's a scripture in the Bible that tells us to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. Right? Love it. It's from Romans 12:2, one of my
Yes.
favorite scriptures. Right?
Oh, I'm getting excited.
There is a ton of brain science behind this because listen, folks, all right, every thought you have, every action you take forms a pathway in your brain, a literal connection of one brain cell to the other. I'm oversimplifying, but essentially, if you can just look at it like that, the first time we have a thought or do an action, it's essentially like making a path in the woods. Okay. So you might see some leaves pushed aside. You can kind of see the path. But the more times we have the same thought, the more times we do the same action, it eventually forms what I call super highways of thought in the brain. And that is the default way you think and respond. Okay. Very relevant to physicians who are tired, who are stressed, right? Okay.
Mhm.
And this becomes a pattern that literally colors how you see the world, right?
Yeah.
It is like looking through a lens or a lattice almost. And as you can see by my hands here, right? It's almost like a jail cell in your
Mhm.
brain if
Mhm.
those patterns are not based on passion and purpose and
Yes.
possibility. Okay.
Yes.
So we get stuck, just like I got stuck thinking, oh, I'm a neurosurgeon. This is all I can be. This is all I can ever do, which is still a
Mhm.
pretty great thing, right? And you think, well, why do I need anything else? It's funny, the neurosurgeons that I work with
Yeah.
in burnout, one of the questions I ask in my signature assessment is, what is your passion in life? And so one of the responses is, why do I need another passion in life when I'm doing what I want to do?
Yeah.
I say, oh my goodness, your brain, you have to understand this about your brain. You have new baby brain cells that are born every single day. That means you're designed for growth. You are designed for change. You are not designed to reach a certain place and then stop. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's actually the point that I got to in medicine, right? At the point right before I left clinical practice, I was working at the Cleveland Clinic, one of the great hospitals in the country, right? Had an amazing research grants, all of these things. I had hit almost all of my goals.
Yeah.
And I was there and I was like, wait, there's something more, right?
Something
So
more.
we have to begin to, first of all, identify the brain pathways that are not growth oriented. Okay.
Yeah.
That are not healthy for us, right?
Yeah.
That are limiting mindsets. And we have to begin to open up and break those down so that those pathways of truth, those pathways of possibility, right? Those pathways where we say, one of my favorite questions to ask people, I say, what follows your what if? Okay, this is a really powerful question, right? Because that tells me so much just getting started where somebody's mindset is at. Because I say, okay, when you ask yourself what if, what follows that? And sometimes doctors will say, oh, well, I'm always thinking about in surgery, and Lord knows I did this too. What if something goes wrong, right?
Yeah.
If this unexpected thing happens. However, you can actually very quickly shift your mindset to say, wow, what if something amazing happens? What if I get into this, brain tumor surgery here and it just opens up and everything comes out really easily? Let me tell you what that does. That literally, it actually tells your brain to look for that possibility, right? So it's when I would even, take off the skull, right? I'm looking at this brain tumor surrounded by blood vessels and nerves and all of this. And, one surgeon may look at that and say, oh my goodness, it's going to take me 10 hours to do this, get me my chair, all these things. But because I would go into that with this mindset of, ooh, what if there's like this little window that I can get into? And then when I get into it, it just comes out really easily. Guess what? My brain is going to recognize that avenue, right? My brain, even subconsciously, right, is going to say, oh, what if we just shift the patient's head a little bit? Or what if I change the microscope orientation and now I can see that beautiful window? And, of course, not everything works out exactly as I'm describing it, but I'm giving you an example how powerful your mindset is. So the first thing that I would say, number one, is begin to recognize your thought process and your language, right? I think that is so important. And then here's what I do to integrate my faith into this. I take what I'm thinking, take what I'm saying, and I go to God and I say, God, now what do you think?
Yes.
Let me tell you what this does, okay? It literally forces a perspective shift, okay? Just like I was talking about a minute ago, shifting the microscope angle. It's shifting the microscope angle in your brain, right? And it forces you to look at things from a different perspective, okay? Now, even if you have a deep relationship with God or not, right? You have to see it differently. And the moment you see it differently, those possibilities open up. And what's happening under the surface, right? If we could have a special imaging study at that moment, you could see these brain pathways that have been limiting you begin to just open up, and the realm of possibility is just amazing at that point.
Well, that is amazing. I get excited because first of all, that you are unashamed, unapologetic about your faith and talking about, scriptural base. When you talked about being renewed by the transforming of your mind, that's one of my favorite scriptures. I actually wrote a book called Renewing Your Mind.
Oh my goodness,
and so what you were talking about, that's why I was so excited to connect with you, because of those keys, the mindset shift, and how we interpret and see the world is our perception is reality. So if you're not practicing those things on a constant basis, like what you said, if you don't have something that you can believe about that's higher than your limited thinking, right? Because stress and everything's going to come. It's going to make you doubt yourself, as you said. I think that's the human part that we have about ourselves. But if you can see beyond that with your faith and how you talked about speaking that thing, starting to open up those neural pathways is what you said. That's going to give the shift that you need to do whatever it is in God's purpose for your life. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Isn't that a great
absolutely.
summary of
That's an excellent summary. Very succinctly put. Thank you.
yes, yes. And so, when you talk about shedding light or having that perspective or the conversation amongst physicians, how would you, well, I guess I could say this, it would probably be easier because you're already tapped into that community, but in working with physicians, it's such a quiet topic of stress, anxiety, and how to really connect and get the support that you need. So, for example, you talk about healing in the kingdom. How then do you bring up the subject to get people to say, hey, let me tune in? What she's saying is powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. So, here's the thing. One of the things I created, and I created this specifically for doctors, is an assessment that takes literally 5 minutes to take so they can see how healthy their mindsets are, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because we all, as doctors, as healthcare providers, we like those numbers, we like that analysis, right?
Yes.
So I found that attracts people. And what I've done, and the Lord gave me this download, is there's really 5 areas that contribute to burnout most commonly. And within those, so it's physical needs that are not being met. A lot of times that's basically even something simple like nutrition. Again, we have limiting mindsets. All I have time for is a Coke and a Snickers bar in between surgeries. I didn't know any better. I know a lot better now, right? It's just as easy to grab something healthy, right? Those relationships, right? I look back even on myself. Most of my relationships, 99% of my relationships, were with other medical colleagues. All we ever talked about was medicine, right? Like that is not how we're designed. We're designed to connect with people with our values, not just our career, right?
Yes.
That intellectual stimulation I was talking about a few minutes ago, and connecting with that passion that is deep inside you. Even one, I would encourage each and every person, here's something you can do. Think back to a passion you've had outside of medicine before. What has happened to that passion? At what point, you're going to catch a limiting belief here. At what point did you say, I don't have time for that anymore? That's not compatible with my lifestyle right now. You're going to catch something really, really important. We dive into this in coaching. But the 4th area that I talk about is really that spiritual connection. And identity. And I think from a doctor's standpoint, we're all on journeys of self-discovery, right? We love discovery. That's part of the reason we go into medicine, right? Is discovering new things, new ways to do things. And it starts with discovering more about ourselves, right? And I believe, and I know that, God created each one of us. He placed part of himself in us that makes us so unique and amazing, right?
Come on.
So as I introduce this idea of identity to folks and say, you're so much more. Yes, you're a doctor, and that's amazing. You're so much more than that. That's like, I describe identity as an artichoke, right? And so we've got the artichoke heart and you've got the artichoke leaves, right?
Yeah.
We go through our lives thinking, we're literally just one leaf of this artichoke. And for me, that was it, neurosurgeon, right? And I help people discover what's that core, right? Like I am a healer and I'm a prophetic healer. There's so many components of me that are that core, that neurosurgeon's one branch of that, right? So it's, so is prophetic intercessor, right? I pray over people, and that's a branch of that too. And so I help people understand that. And when they get this, and when they understand that they're going to get that information by connecting with their higher power, with God, right? Then they're open to it and they say, oh, okay, I understand. And this makes so much more sense. So that's one of the components. And then the last component is one that I found is one of the biggest struggles people have. And that is the financial side, right?
Yes.
That so many times, we work so hard, medical school, we don't get paid, residency. I remember when I went through residency, I was literally making less money per hour than the people working at McDonald's or in the hospital. And I'm like, come on. Right. So when we finally, get, out and start making money, a lot of times, we raise a lifestyle significantly too. And then 2, we're now so busy, and we've been busy, so we don't even know the best things to do with our money. So we listen to whatever hospital practice we're working at. They're like, oh, we're putting money in your 401k. Fantastic. You think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Do you know we are literally designed to not have to work to live? Okay.
Mhm.
Your life will be so much freer if you could have enough money to live on and live well on without having to work another day in your life. And
Yes.
most people say, oh, how is that even possible? Do you know my lifestyle? Yeah, I know your lifestyle because
Yeah.
I've been there, right? I've
Yeah.
lived that, right? There's so many. I actually studied. I took some time over the last 5 years since I've been retired from practice to actually study financial advising. I'm not licensed right now, but I did go get a license just so I would know. And I
Yeah.
studied the different ways and investments and, whole life insurance and annuities and investing in gold and silver, investing in real estate, investing even in cryptocurrency and all of these things that people think are complicated,
Yeah.
right? They see them as complicated. They're like, oh, no, I just want to take some money. Let the hospital take my 10% out and put it in my IRA, my 401k. I don't want to have to worry about it. Here's the problem. You are now chained to that job, right?
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the number of people that I ask and I say, look, if you didn't ever have to worry about money, you could live as whatever lifestyle you wanted, right? What would you be doing with your day?
Yeah.
So many people, not everyone, but a lot of people don't even include their current job in their day, in their ideal day, right? There's something about healing, right? There's something, because that's a passion that we all have, right? But it looks so different. And for some people, it's like all research, right? That's really what they want to do, but they feel tied to it. And, it's so simple. I'm not the expert in all of these areas, but I am connected to the experts in all of these areas.
Yes.
Right? I think is so key. So with these assessments, right, I can help people see exactly where their area of struggle is. And then I can put you with the right person. And in a very short period of time, you can be on a path to freedom. And freedom, folks, that is a key to healing, and that is a key to overcoming burnout.
Yes.
Simply. So
yes, I love it. You should see my feet and stuff. I'm doing the happy dance. I'm doing the happy dance over here because it's like we speak the same language, and I have to have you back. I hope that you will be open to coming and possibly doing a training within our community here. How can people, if they want to connect with you personally, how can they do that?
Well, I encourage, if you're a physician, I would encourage you, first of all, start with this free assessment that I have available. It's at prismsignature.net. It is a great assessment just to tell you where you are mindset wise, right? But you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a profile there, and on Facebook, Darlene Mayo, MD, on my website, drdarlenemayo.com as well. So any of those, you can definitely reach out to me. I respond to personal messages on LinkedIn or on Facebook as well. So please feel free to reach out. But I encourage you, if you're a doctor, go at least figure out where you are, right? And so you know what help you need, and you get some little strategies with that assessment as well.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mayo, and for opening up the conversation a little bit further, because, we talk about burnout and we think that there's only one way to sort of look at it. And so I'm so glad and thankful that there is someone, a physician, that people can connect with to go a little bit deeper with faith and get those strategies that's going to help them be their best self. And that's what we're all about, right? Thank you so much for you tuning in on today, listeners. And we are excited about our next edition. And if you're listening on today, I would love to have you to interview you in your special expertise so that we can continue to get the message out to the physicians that really need the help the most. So until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Health Trips. Polly here to help you make it happen like this. Frontline workers and physicians, much respect. Hope you keep on coming back, helping with your mental health. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe. Don't want to miss a thing. I'm sure you'll be captivated, life-changing, guaranteed. Yeah. Health Trips. Tune in to Health Trips. Hey, Health Trips. Subscribe to Health Trips. Let's go.